You're watching TVC Breakfast. Schools are meant to be safe spaces where pupils learn not just formal education, but also good morals. Recent happenings in some Nigerian schools now has every parent and concerned individual on edge, as schools are turning into courtyards of violence and even death. Infants and toddlers are being flogged and adolescents are being bullied and beaten sometimes to the death. The case of 12-year-old Sylvester Romani still stings, but while his family and indeed Nigerians are yet to recover from that, the news of a 19-month-old baby being flogged into coma, which led to his death in Delta State, has forced Nigerians to demand psychological tests for teachers. It has also ignited a raging debate about whether or not corporal punishment should be adopted as a correctional method of raising school pupils. Let's talk this through by speaking with Director, Le Posh School, Ronke Posh Adeniyi, and OPD coach and founder of Mama Hill Montessori School, Ochiko Prudence Daniels. Thank you so much for joining us, gentle ladies. Let me say that.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Good morning.
Well, did I want to say it's okay to try to correct your words, your kids? Sometimes they want to tag them as being stubborn, obstinate, because of maybe their characters sometimes. But when is correcting them or spanking them or beating them is too much?
Well, we shouldn't be spanking and hitting children anyway. I've been an advocate of no hitting of children. And when I listened to you as you spoke this morning, I've just been shaking my head since all this has been happening. Now, social media has brought it out to the limelight. And a lot of parents say they are concerned. But this same practice is what they do in their homes. A lot of parents beat their children. They've done it historically. Those parents are the same types of parents that raised these teachers. Beating children, flogging children. It's a national culture. We do it all the time. Everybody does it.
Is it national?
It's a national.
Or African?
Well, we're talking about Nigeria. You can say African. You know, I've not lived in other African countries. I know they do it. But in our own context, we're talking about Nigeria. We do it a lot. A lot of parents do it. I've been talking about not beating and smacking children. I've written a book about it. And they will still quote the Bible and say, spare the rod and spoil the child. The same Bible says a disobedient child to be stoned to death. Should we do it? Now that children are dying in the schools, they're all shouting now because their own stick did not kill a child yet. So people that are casting that stone, they're just as guilty.
So how did you react to the 19-month-old baby where the teacher said even the proprietress was also complicit, saying that what they did, they didn't kill the boy, they only flogged him with 31 strokes of cane because he's a stubborn guy?
Yeah. The thing is, I just shook my head because the issues are deeper than we think, because these people, they could have mental health challenges, but even at that, a lot of them do not understand the stages of development when a child is growing up. There are things that are expected of a child. This child is a baby. This child has no business in school anyway. If a child is going out of the house at that time, they're going to a daycare to eat, sleep, pool, and just have fun. So those people don't understand expected behavior of a 2-year-old, 19-month-old baby. There are countries around the world like Finland that children don't go to school till the age of 7. But in Nigeria, it's the books. Even some parents will go to school and tell you that, oh, please flog my child if they're naughty. Discipline my child, punish them, because we don't understand how to bring children up. We assume that parenting is innate. Parenting is not innate, it is to be learned. But we will say, oh, we know how to do it. Nobody can tell me how to raise my children. And then we are killing the children. How many children have parents killed that we have not heard about? And they will say it's malaria or something. You know, many of those things don't hit the media. But these things are happening nationally. Well,
let me come to you, Ochiko Prudence Daniels. When I mentioned 31 strokes of cane, I had you say, ha. So when you read this story, what came to your mind?
That story is heartrending. It's, personally, I don't believe in corporal punishment. I don't support it. If I ever raise my hands on my children, I deeply regret it. And I do not advocate for any parent whatsoever to raise a hand on a child. Ronke has said it all. As a nation, I think, first of all, we need reforms to have places where children can go to, because some homes are not even safe for the children. Parents who met such punishments, it's a generational thing. They've suffered, they're victims, and then they take it on their children because they believe that's the only way. That's the only way they know. Parenting is not just innate, like she said. Right. Parenting has to be learned. There are things you have to do, and corporal punishment does not really give us long-term results. It's only in the immediate.
Short term.
Yes, in the short term. It's not long-term at all. And what happened to positive discipline? You know, where are we heading as a nation? In some countries, corporal punishment has been abandoned, has been abolished and banned for years, and we are still here. So we need to wake up. We need to have, like, so if I say when people are guilty of this offense, where do they go to? Where do the children go to? Do we have, you know, structures in place where children can be taken away from a dangerous environment to a safe haven? We don't have those.
Well, you said
already.
You said you don't subscribe to corporal punishment.
I don't.
So what kind of punishment, or should there be punishment at all in the first place? And if there should be, what kind of punishment would you rather administer?
Well, positive discipline does not believe they are bad children. There are no bad children anywhere. There are only bad behaviors and, you know, bad situations.
How do you react to a kid? I asked you not to do this yesterday. You're still doing it. You're stubborn. You're scapegoat. You're bullheaded. And I'm going to do this and that.
That
you would never
itself
listen.
is an abuse, because abuse is not only physical. It can be emotional,
verbal.
Yes, and verbal. So that itself is an abuse. Like Ronke said, positive discipline helps children to understand their expectations. Even you as a parent, what are your expectations for your child? And do you communicate those expectations? For very, you know, young children, like we're talking about now, what a 19-month-old baby do to be flogged? 30, how many strokes of cane? I mean, it's crazy.
If he's a teen, you can say that, well, he or she is a teen. You can sit them down, talk sense into them. But what about a baby? How do you get them disciplined? And then whip them into line?
No, we don't whip babies into line.
No, when I say whip, I mean, I don't mean whip in the physical sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be any means, because I know when I was growing up, my mom would say, you're not going to eat tonight, but you eat at the end of the day, but you still cry that, I'm not going to eat, Mom, but you still eat at the end of the day. But the food, the dinner might just be delayed. So is that one of the ways?
So when we want to discipline children, we need to know that we need to discipline ourselves first. And we need to understand the children. We need to understand expected behavior. If I bring a baby, a 2-year-old baby here, what is the baby going to do? Sit down here and discuss with us and have a nice conversation? I don't think so. That baby is going to be moving around, trying to touch everything that is here. And then the parent is frustrated and starts hitting the child. Sit down. Don't you know we're on TV? No, there's something that is called an expected behavior. That child is supposed to be doing that. If that child is neurotypical, that child is supposed to do that. But because we don't understand ourselves, we don't understand what we're doing, we put our frustration on that child. Our frustration from work, our frustration from having no lights, bad roads, you know, pressures of life. We are not patient enough with the children. When we are patient enough with the children, we will understand that what they are doing is what they are supposed to be doing. And then you correct them in love.
Right.
Discipline is something that should be done in love. When you have a child, you have to be patient. You have to be. People are having 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 children. When they can't even handle one single child. It is very, very challenging to raise a child. One child, you have to continue to repeat. You have to continue to teach the child. But what do? We use this corporal punishment. Long term, a lot of people don't even love their parents. A lot of people are just saying, oh, let me go send money home, so that they won't say I didn't send money home. They don't have those emotional connections. Because every time they hit that child, they build a bridge between themselves and the child.
Let's take this back to the four walls of the classroom, where the teachers are supposed to be custodians of this, of these words, away from the parents, just within the hours you can spend with their parents. That reminds me of when I was growing up. In secondary school, we used to have a maths teacher. Maths teachers can be very, very, I know, we used to call this word Mr. Irrational. Those who went to the same school with me would definitely know what I'm saying. I blame my not being able to solve mathematical equations, very, simultaneous equation and all those quite interesting formulas, which I used to know. But this man will face the blackboard, do all the workings, talking to the blackboard,
exactly.
And then face back. Do you understand? We say no. It does it again. Do you understand? No. And it brings you back to the blackboard. Do it. And if you don't do it, it said it's going to flog you. 4 or 5 strokes of cane. Before you get first stroke of cane, he has beaten 10. So next time I get to see this man, I don't want to say scale the window. The window is so low, so I could just cross over the window whenever he came to class. So how do you describe that kind of pedagogic methods of teaching students?
Again, it's because they do not understand teaching methodologies.
Exactly.
Did that flogging bring that solution to your brain?
No.
Did it suddenly magically make you understand how to do it? A lot of people still don't understand maths till today. A lot of people still find it scary. It's because the way that has been delivered. A lot of mathematics teachers, they know maths, but they don't know how to teach maths. There's one thing knowing maths, that's another thing knowing how to teach. Yes, there is. And there's another thing where there's pressure in the classroom for the teachers. They have 20, 30, 40, 50, 100. Some cases 150, 350 I've even heard in some schools. How does one or two people, how do they teach all those people? How do they control the classroom? The classroom is massive. They can't do it. It's not physically possible for one person to get through. As though they're making noise there, they're making noise there. You don't know what to do. So you feel you have to treat them like animals. So classroom sizes, ratios, all those things they need. So teachers have to go back to training. We have to go back to those schools, those teacher training colleges where they're constantly cheating there. So that we can tell them and let them understand the basics. Basics of love, basics of empathy, and basics of teaching, which includes stages of development of a child.
Well, this boy we're talking about, this recent one, we've talked about the Romani.
Yeah.
The recent one in Delta State, was this 19-year-old, this unfortunate incident. But we had a conversation in the newsroom this morning saying, at what age are you putting your children to school? Saying that you're putting them to creche. Some have not even started walking. They're supposed to have this parental care. Is that a mistake, first and foremost, being made by parents?
Well, if you look at it holistically, today, even the home is not safe. So ideally, a child shouldn't be in school before they are 5. But if the school environment is safe, like I practice Montessori, and we cater from 0 to 3 first group, 3 to 6, and then 6 to 12. Now, for a child of 0 to 3, they're expected developmental stages that we understand. For example, at our school, we don't engage anybody below a graduate level. And even at that, they go through a training. Even if you have to cater for a baby, you have to first of all have a first degree. And then we build on that with your Montessori training that helps you. She mentioned them: empathy, love, patience. And then you understand the pedagogy, developmental stages of a child. Children remember toxic experiences, toxic emotions longer in life than positive emotions. So we have to keep doing positive reinforcement both at school and at home. So I can't categorically say children should stay at home, from age 0 to 6 because they shouldn't be in school. Even the homes are not safe. When you have a school environment that is safe, of course, parents have to go to work. Today, everybody is hustling, working hard, making ends meet.
Because of the situation.
Because of the situation. There are no support systems. In those days, grannies were there, and, most mothers didn't work. But today, some mothers even bring more money than the father. So what are you talking about? Stay at home and look after babies? No, we should have support system. If you can't afford a good school, get family members who you trust to look after your children. And for the school, she said it as well, teachers should be trained. Like I just mentioned my own situation. There are minimum expectations for teachers, and it's not it should be global. Like government should regulate all of these things.
Do you see government as not being, proactive? Rather, they've just always been reactive.
In
because
Nigeria,
some of these schools where you tend to hear the stories from, apart from the Darwin of this world, the recent one, they said it's just one school, not licensed and all that. And what were they looking at? That's the question you'll be asking yourself. What were they looking at when this school was in operation, until they perpetrated what they did? So what should government be doing in this regard?
Oh, no school should set up without due process. That's what I can just say. But the way we are in Nigeria, we have too many problems to say, where do we start from? So government should not just allow schools to spring up and open left, right, and center, because our children are dying. And that's really something they should be looking at. So maybe we should call out the Ministry of Education. What is their role? What are the steps every school needs to take before they kick off in operation? So if maybe those standards are put in place, we will be safe. But that the children are dying is not acceptable.
Well, while you were talking, because you're actually talking like a parent, as a mother, not like as a mother. It reminds me of one of my cousins, nephew precisely. When he was growing up, I was told, because it's quite, he's older than I do. He cried a lot when he was a baby. He cried a lot, but he was in creche. And I learned that maybe the custodian was always giving this boy a sleeping pill because he cried a lot. And at the point they realized the guy was just being somewhat retarded, is not conserved, but he would just sit down, he would just be looking because of the effect of the pill. So what would you say about, she's talked about some, the quality, the qualifications of teachers, but how should parents be also observing their kids when they come back from school?
You see, when you talked about the 2-year-old, should children be in school? My daughter went to school at 7 months old. I wanted her to be in school. My mother-in-law was with me, so I had a support system, but she still went to school because I could see already that she was a very social baby. She wanted to, go around, and I wanted her to do that. So it's a choice that parents want to make, whether it wasn't a case of money for me in my own situation. So I just wanted her to be in school. So I really want to reinforce that parents can take their children. It's not school, it's daycare at that age. At that age, under the age of 3, they go to play. That's what people call jealousy. We just go out and go and play. So there is nothing wrong with taking your child to daycare. Parents, when they send their children to school, the way parents typically look for schools in Nigeria. Lakbaja, which school does your child go to? Because I came from the UK 10 years ago, and I was looking for schools. I will ask people, if you are looking for business deals, go to that place, networking, this one, that one, the latest parties, you will meet them there. That is the reality of Lagos. Let's not speak any American English or broken anything. Let us say that is it. That is how people look. They do not look for a school in the best interest of the child. They look for a school in the best interest of themselves, where they can get some popularity, some fame. They can go there at PTAs and they can show off and go there at sports day and do musical chairs and do all sorts of things. It becomes a social gathering for them. They do not say, this is my child. Which school deserves to have my child? What is it that that school has that will be suitable? A school can be 100 years old and be thriving. And many children have gone there. But it may not be right for your own unique child. You need to say, what is it that my child needs? Not copy what A, B, and C are doing, which is typically what happens. They don't want to go to schools that are not, the name is not out there, because they don't want to say it when they go to their parties. They want to say, my child goes to X, Y, and Z. Whether or not it's serving you, whether or your child is happy there, that is what they want to do.
Right. So on a final note from your side, government responds sometimes to closing down some of these schools. You begin to think, what about the students, innocent students of that school? What happened to them? So should that be the ultimate sanction? What happens to such students in that school if the government has to close it down?
The thing is, if we're doing our ongoing inspections, we won't have those issues. When the case of Hanifa happened in Kano and they closed all the schools in Kano, it obviously showed a leadership issue. Because I'm someone that I'm doing my best. I'm only around the corner from the school. I'm constantly there doing my best. Somebody does something 10 miles away and I get shut down. It makes no sense. Now, in that case of Down, there is a systemic issue. It wasn't a one-off. There was a culture of abusing children, whether it's themselves, whether it's the teachers. So there's a systemic issue. Now, when you have a one-off, you have to investigate that one-off.
Right.
That's what I'll say.
Right.
Thank you.
Right. So just a few seconds to go. What would you say? Because the security is a dire security situation. I mean, the nation rather is a dire security situation, and our words have to be really well looked after. So, what would you like to see as regards corporal punishments in schools so that we don't have these stories again?
It should be totally abolished and, in fact, criminalized. Because if we understand the children we're working with, we know what is expected. And we, like at our place, I like making reference to it because it works. Parents come back, give us feedback. Children don't want to go home. When parents come for them, they are crying, they are hiding. They don't want to go home. I had a situation recently, a boy who was forcefully taken away from us because they had family issues at home. you know, eventually came back and hugged me, wept. In fact, the friends raised him up, welcomed him. When I had one-on-one counseling session with the boy, he told me the only reason he came back was because he missed school so much. And when they took him, they beat children. So he was doing everything to make sure they didn't beat him. And even then, he still chopped to one cane. You know, so I think it's something that,
you know,
today's craziness in our world is
mentality.
as a result of corporal punishment.
Well, nobody wants to continue to chop cane, just like you said. Well, Le Posh School, Ronke Posh Adini, thank you very kindly for your time.
Thank you.
And the OPD coach and founder of Mama Hill Montessori School, Ochiko Prudence Daniels, really appreciate it.
Yeah, pleasure.